Hi, and welcome to the latest episode in our Techfocus series. Today we're going to explore the subject of AI, but with a twist. We're going to be talking about AI for networks and networking for AI. So that should be an interesting discussion. I'm delighted to be joined by Rob Freeman from Juniper. Welcome, Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. It's great to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
To kick things off, why don't we start with I guess the subject of AI is everywhere and it's really, really difficult to distinguish between, I guess, the hype and reality. But start us off with that. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. It's everywhere, isn't it? It's everywhere on the marketing material. It's been trying to be baked into every product, and it is very, very difficult to distinguish. And I guess what this really comes down to is, does it actually deliver something useful, something that the product previously couldn't do, or a new product that behaves in a different way? And we'll talk a little bit about some of those later.
So I guess, with the AI revolution, I mean, what is the role of networking? And I guess what are the use cases that people are seeing?
Yes, absolutely. And because it is truly a revolution, the pace of development and the rate of innovation is something we haven't seen for years, if ever, in this industry. Things are happening at a crazy rate with new stuff coming out every few months. And the focus really over the past couple of years has all been on what can the GPUs, what can the processors do? And there's been new versions coming out, breaking benchmarks almost every week. So the role of the networking, really from sort of a humble perspective, is to make sure we don't hamstring that development. So these AI workloads are incredibly hungry for bandwidth. Our role as a networking organization is to make sure we're developing, we're keeping up with those processor technologies and the other associated parts of the AI stack.
And I guess on that is speak to lots of customers, and lots of customers are inquiring or building GPU clusters to deal with AI workloads.
Yes.
But from a networking perspective, I guess, what are the important considerations? Because there must be some very significant considerations.
Yes. So these are not your average data center workloads that we're used to and have been dealing with for many, many years. So they have some very, very specific demands. So first of all, they can consume a level of bandwidth we don't see anywhere else. So all of the GPUs out there on the market today, you can feed them up to 400 gigabits per second.
Wow.
So if you're building a cluster of many of these processors, and enterprise customers are building 64 GPU clusters all the way up to the hyperscalers in the tens and tens of thousands. I think one just announced 100,000 earlier this week. And the kind of workloads they're processing are a distributed workload. So an individual AI training operation can't happen on a single GPU. It doesn't matter how powerful it is. So that's got to be split up and spread around all of those processors. And so if the network is not fully optimized and in tune with those GPUs, you very soon find that the utilization rate on those GPUs drops, the job completion time goes through the roof. And when you're spending tens of thousands of dollars per GPU, the investment rates are now into the billions. We had Microsoft announcing $100 billion data center plans. Any optimization you can bring there is very, very welcome.
Absolutely. And I think you've mentioned before in terms of the importance of openness, in terms of open standards, etc., and not having lock-in. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. And this to me comes down to the fact we're in an industry that is changing month by month, week by week. There are new technologies coming out there into the market. There's new ways of working. And building an infrastructure is a very expensive thing to do, and it needs to last for a period of time. So if you build that to a certain set of restrictions and build in lock-in, then 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line, it's going to be in a tricky position. So actually making sure you're thinking about where things are going, what could come out, and making sure that from our point of view, that your network is open and flexible and adaptable is very important. And so obviously at Juniper, for us, that's about Ethernet. Ethernet is an open protocol that has really addressed every significant use case in the industry for 20 years. And we've seen with previous generations of data center transformation, from the early days in the 90s of the internet boom, through cloud, through, what we went through in terms of all people going to remote working. Ethernet has adapted and changed and been able to keep up, and exactly the same thing's happening now with the changes we're making in the protocols through the Ultra Ethernet Consortium, and the new products we have that are taking speed, up 800 gigabits and beyond, to be able to keep up.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And from Juniper and Fujitsu are working together as well in terms of, I think you're driving networking within our AI test drive.
Yes, absolutely. So you mentioned earlier that customers are seeking to build these clusters themselves. And there's a couple of things driving that. And the important thing with Fujitsu's private GPT solution is being able to keep control of your data. Yeah. The quality you get out of AI is largely down to the quality of data you put into it. So if you've got your own secure data from your own organization, your customer data, your research data, whatever that may be, you want to keep your arms around that and keep it in-house. So that's exactly why customers are building it, and why working with companies like Fujitsu to build the complete end-to-end stack is really, really important to us.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of customers seeing that as really important in terms of testing AI workloads, as you say, also driving through to private GPT, because that data sovereignty piece is is massive, and we're seeing huge interest in that. So it's great to see the benefits of our partnership working together there. Okay, so I guess moving on, the other part of the subject as well is the benefits that AI can bring to how networks are run, and what, from a user perspective, you'll start to see as a result of that, because I guess that's not an AI project, something happening in the background, but really benefiting you as a user. So talk to a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something we've been doing at Juniper for a long time, actually. So about 6 years ago, we acquired a company called Mist.
Okay.
And Mist set about building a different type of network. So rather than really thinking about networks as a collection of access points and switches and routers and firewalls, thinking about the network from the perspective of the user. So I'm talking about here the user who sat at a PC, who might be on the Wi-Fi network on their phone, or it might be an IoT device. Yeah. So starting from that perspective, and then building a platform using the techniques of proper data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. So what we're doing is we're looking at every end connected device or user, and every second or two, we're gathering all of the 150 plus data points all across the network that could be affecting whether they're having a good time or a bad time on the network. Some of those are things from within the network. Some of those things are outside of the network, but we can see them on the network. So when we gather up that amount of data and then apply the right machine learning and AI algorithms to it, we can transform the experience both for the user and for the operator of that network.
Right.
Yeah. So looking at some direct quantifiable outcomes. So we have customers out there, public reference customers, who will attest that using these techniques, they've reduced their number of network trouble tickets by over 90%.
Wow.
Yeah, 90%. Yeah, we're able to reduce the time to fixing issues, by huge orders of magnitude, down from hours down to minutes, if not seconds.
And is that because is it predictive, or is it because it's sort of like auto healing, or a combination?
A combination of all of those things. Yeah, because the ultimate goal is a self-driving network. Yeah, you want a network that can do that closed loop closed loop automation. Yeah, that helps you to deploy the network in simple terms, making sure the network is delivering what it should be doing, and then fixing any problems along the way. So that's exactly what it's doing. And again, it's an area it's great to work with Fujitsu on.
So most of that's transparent to the user.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the benefits, uptime and consistency and reliability, but the rest of it, awesome. Okay, so I guess just maybe to move us towards a bit of a close is those two streams in terms of AI for networking and networks for AI.
Yes.
How do they come together in terms of how do those two streams merge?
Yes, absolutely, and they are very much coming together. So there are very few networks that are as difficult to manage and optimize properly as an AI cluster. a high performance AI cluster where the sums of money involved in the investment and the criticality of the network is huge. So it's absolutely ripe for using those same techniques of using AI to actually run, manage, and self-heal that network. So that's exactly what we're doing. So we're taking some of the very, very specific requirements of AI networks. We're ingesting that into our cloud platform so that it can actually understand what's going on in that network, and then auto-tuning that network in real time to ensure that it's delivering the right performance, because we're in the very early days of AI.
Yeah.
And we're all learning. And what we're finding is different types of workloads, different types of models have got very different demands upon the network. So by making sure that your network is open and flexible and tunable, you can make sure that that same networking can deliver for whatever you might need to run in the future.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say we're in the early days of AI, because in terms of, you're absolutely right, but there's so much of it and it's so pervasive around. It feels like we've been talking AI forever. In terms of, it's just a relatively new phenomenon. Great, thank you for sharing those insights. That's been really good, and I'm sure very valuable to lots of people. So thank you for that, and thank you to everyone for joining. And we look forward to welcoming you back to the next Tech Focus episode in the near future. Thanks very much.